interesting chapter, the making of national movement, 1870s to 1947. As we looked at previous chapter, that how the Britishers conquered the Indian territories and they controlled almost many parts of the country. As they came in our country, India, as a trader, and they became the master of the whole empire. Also, we discussed about how they introduced many laws, the condition of farmers, the condition of tribal people. They introduced English education in our country, India, in 19th century. The debate on the condition of women, the revolt of 1857, how our Indian textile declined, art and crafts also. So, on the basis of all those issues that we discussed in previous chapter, do you think that the Indians were satisfied with the British rule, children?
No.
Well, Indians were not satisfied with the British rule. And a question emerged among the people that what is the country India and for whom is it meant? The answer which gradually emerged that time, that the India was the country for the people of India and its resources for them, not for the Britishers. Those who exercising their power, those who control on all the resources of the country. Yes, children, resources. An example, spices.
Yes. Indigo. Cotton.
Textile. Yes, very good. Cotton. So as we know that all these goods all were exported in European countries. Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
So that as the awareness, that was the beginning of the national movement, nationalism, a feeling of nationalism that emerged among the people. So nationalism, the topic with the children, the topic national movement or nationalism. So nationalism is a feeling of oneness that emerged among the people, those who are living together in a region, shared common culture, common tradition, common language, and irrespective of their caste, color, creed, language, etc. So let's start in our Tata classes. I'm going to start by Tata classes. So the chapter is the making of the national movement. Let's see the video presentation.
By the mid-19th century, British political and economic policies had led many Indians to the darkness of despair. But certain events and developments invoked a growing sense of nationalism among Indians and culminated in the outright fight for independence. Pick each factor to learn more about how it contributed to the rise of nationalism in colonial India.
The first causes of rise of nationalism. The revolt of 1857.
The revolt of 1857 was a major turning point in the rise of Indian nationalism. The hanging of Mangal Pandey had sparked instant instant anger against the British and created a revolutionary mindset. People began to idolize contemporary revolutionaries like Rani Lakshmibai, Nana Sahib, and Mangal Pandey, who raised their voices against the British.
Ma'am,
The revolt of 1857 paved way for several uprisings that expressed rebellion against the British rule.
Okay, children. So,
British political and economic policies had led many Indians to the darkness of despair, but certain events and developments invoked a growing sense of nationalism among Indians and culminated in the outright fight for independence. Pick each factor to learn more about how it contributed to the rise of nationalism in colonial India.
the causes for rise of nationalism.
The revolt of 1857 was a major turning point in the rise of Indian nationalism. The hanging of Mangal Pandey had sparked instant
Hanging of Mangal Party, that the immediate cause of the revolt of 1857, that how Mangal Party refused to use the cartridge rifle which was introduced in British Army. So, as after the death of Mangal Party, how the revolt was sparked in
anger against the British and created a revolutionary mindset. People began to idolize contemporary revolutionaries like Rani Lakshmibai, Nana Sahib, and Mangal Pandey, who raised
Yes, children, Rani Lakshmibai here. Do you know about Rani Lakshmibai? Who was Rani Lakshmibai? And a question that why she participated in this revolt? Yes?
ma'am, she was the queen of Jhansi.
Yes, very good. Yes, Chandra, give the answer.
She
And-
was the queen of Jhansi and she revolted and she fight because her husband was killed by the British, and in that time there was a rule that if after the husband dies and if there is no other children of the son of the king, then the kingdom will be taken by the British
Yes,
government.
good. Good children. That's the policy of the doctrine of love. Yes, no. That if king died without any male son, and the kingdoms will be taken by the British territory. So Rani Lakshmibai, she participated, and how the policy of annexation, that the many territories which annexed by the Britishers, not only Jhansi, Satara, Sambalpur, Nagpur, Kanpur, yes, ma'am, these are the policy of dropping of flags. Nana Sahib was the adopted son of late Peshwa Bajirao. He also revolted. Then here children, Mangal Pandey, as we know about the Mangal Pandey, yes.
their voices against the British. The revolt of 1857 paved way for several uprisings that expressed rebellion against the British rule.
Children, the revolt of 1857, that the first war for independence. After that, Britishers, the policy, they adopted a policy which adopted by the Britishers. So, what was the policy, what was the policy, the method that they adopted? Yes? Anyone? That was the divide and rule. Yes, no? So that divide and rule, how they divided. And can you give any example that the division, divide and rule, that the policy, that the division on the basis of religion. Yes, anyone? That division on the which province of India that was divided by Viceroy. I'm giving you through that 1905. Yes. That is yes, very good. Partition of Bengal. So Bengal was that their policy divide and rule. Bengal was partitioned children on the basis of religion, East Bengal and West Bengal. Yes. Now next, spread of Western education.
With growing access to Western education, Indians were exposed to new ideologies like liberty, democracy, and nationalism that were evolving in other countries. These
Western education, a person who played a very important role to introduce English education in our country, India. The person was Thomas Babington Macaulay. Yes, his role. And an act was passed in India, the English Education Act. In which year this act was passed?
1835.
Yes, very good. So in 1835, the English Education Act was passed, and after that, English was the medium of instruction on which classes, for which classes?
Higher education.
Yes, for the higher education. So the spread of Western education in our country, India, now people educated, now they aware regarding their freedom also. Yes.
by the mid-90s.
Just stop.
By the mid With the development of roads and railways and postal and telegraph systems, communication gaps were bridged. It became easier for Indians to share ideas and unite for a common purpose.
So better communication made it easier for Indians to unite. The next one.
Social reformers like Raja Ram Mohan Roy, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, Swami Vivekanand, Swami Dayanand, and others instilled
Children, here the personality, here you can see the picture. So the person is here.
Raja Ram Mohan Roy.
Raja Ram Mohan Roy. Raja Ram Mohan Roy was a social reformer and he played a very important role. The sati system, which was in our one of the evil of our society, and sati system was banned with the help of which person?
Raja Ram Mohan Roy.
And the system, sati system, yes, did you stand up? The sati system was banned in which year? Anyone? In which year? You?
In 1829, Sati was.
Sit down. The sati system was banned in 1829. And also, Raja Ram Mohan Roy, he established Brahmo Samaj. Yes. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Next is Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, he supported in, yes, widow marriage. He was in favor of the marriage of widow. And in 1856, an act was passed, yes,
Yes.
that widow marriage act that was passed. Swami Vivekanand children, yes, that we know about the Swami Vivekanand, that how also he played a very important role about his Chicago speech and other. Swami Dayanand, yes, who established the Arya Samaj? Swami Dayanand Saraswati. Yes.
Build a sense of national pride and self-confidence among Indians. Rather than targeting the British, they worked hard to eradicate social evils within the Indian society, such as sati and child marriage.
Child marriage. Growth of regional press and literature.
Regional press reached out to non-English readers and
Regional press is the Kesari. So the Kesari, the newspaper was in the language that the Marathi newspaper. Which language?
Marathi.
It was published Marathi. That was, and it was edited by very good. Bal Gangadhar Tilak. He edited the newspaper.
conveyed ideas of nationalism to Indians in the farthest corners of the country. Regional newspapers highlighted the unfairness of British policies and urged Indians to unite and work the betterment of the nation. Novelists, authors, and poets too aroused patriotic feelings among Indians through compositions in local languages. Bankim Chandra Chattopadhyay's poem Vande Mataram inspired the Indians in their struggle for freedom.
So that right now, as we know that the national song is, what is our national song? Children?
Vande Mataram.
And the Vande Mataram, which is written by Bankim Chandra.
During British rule, India was forced to export raw materials to England at low prices and import finished goods at high prices.
Yes. This is a world map. Here you can see that this place, this England, yes, and here children, India. So this was the sea route of India. How they came in our country, India, and the goods material, all the goods material which exported Indian country, England. So, example, here the economic exploitation, how they purchase these textile spices from our country, India, at very cheap price, and they sold in the European country, they sold at very high price. So that was the economic exploitation of our Indian farmers, yes, artisans and others. How they exploited the Indian economy, and many examples that we can see. Then your children, racial discrimination.
The Indians were always looked down upon by the British and were never treated as equals. Indians were not allowed to enter parks, libraries, hospitals, clubs, and railway coaches that
Racial discrimination. The discrimination, it means the discrimination on the basis of skin, color of skin. As one of the examples of how Mahatma Gandhi, he started Satyagraha movement in South Africa also against the racial discrimination. So Indians were not allowed. Here you will see that they mentioned breastplate and other. How Indians were discriminated in their own country.
were reserved for Englishmen and women. Indians were also not allowed to hold any higher administrative post in their own country.
And they were also not allowed at higher administrative posts in their own country. Yes.
The Elbert Bill controversy was a major trigger in the rise of nationalism. According to the bill, Indian judges would hold trial for any accused European or British.
Elbert Bill controversy. Elbert Bill, which was passed in 1883. As per the bill, Indian judges were allowed for trial for any British person. So the Elbert Bill provided the equality between the European judges and Indian judges. When the Elbert Bill was introduced, after that the white people, they opposed the Elbert Bill. Yes, and after that the bill was withdrawn. So that was the Elbert Bill controversy, how people were dissatisfied.
British person. The British refused to be judged by any Indian and strongly opposed the bill. The agitation that followed came to be known as the White Mutiny. This racial prejudice angered the Indians and highlighted the need for an all-India organization to voice their concerns. nationalist sentiments led to the formation of several political associations like the Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, Madras Mahajan Sabha, the Indian Association, and the Bombay Presidency Association. These associations
So, why people were dissatisfied? Here, as a we can see that in 1778, what was passed, children? Any student? Arms Act.
I mean 1878.
Sir, please delete. Sometimes that was the confusion. Rise of nationalism. White. Children, in 1878, Arms Act was passed. Yes?
Yes,
As
ma'am.
per that, Indians were not allowed to possess the arms. Yes? In same year, 1878, vernacular
Press Act.
Press Act was passed, and as per this act, what was vernacular Press Act, children?
You are not supposed to
That if
local language में
vernacular Press Act with a vernacular local language, regional languages, the press was to publish their magazines or newspaper in their local language or regional language. If the press published anything objectionable against the Britishers, then their press, as their press, and banned the printing press that was banned, that was banned, that was the Vernacular Press Act. In 1883, Ilbert Bill, as in video you can see that the Ilbert Bill in controversy, that the Ilbert Bill was withdrawn. Why it was withdrawn, you know? Because rights given to the Indian judges also, the right as equal right as the rights earlier given to the Britishers, so European judges. So Ilbert controversy also an important reason that people were dissatisfied at. So after that, as many political associations formed in our country, India, and the political associations, these are political associations mainly formed by the educated person of our society, our country. Example here, Madras Mahajan Sabha, Pune Sarvajanik Sabha, the Indian Association, Bombay Presidency Association, and the most important, that was the Indian National Congress. Yes, very good. Indian National Congress. So Indian National Congress, here, just wait. The Indian the Indian National Congress. The Indian National Congress was established in 1885. Yes, good. 1885. In which place, children? Bombay. How many delegates were participated in this movement? Very good. 72 delegates they participated in the National Congress, and the Indian National Congress, one of the person who played a very important role in formation of Indian National Congress, the person was A.O. He was a retired civil servant. On other name, any student, the members of Indian National Congress, the earliest member of Indian National Congress. Very good. Yes, Sandra. Yes, Peter. Dadabhai Naroji. Yes, or anyone?
Perujisha Mehta.
Yes.
Ramesh Chandra Lal.
Yes.
S. Subramanian Iyer.
Iyer.
W.C. Banerjee. Surendranath Mishra.
Yes. Good. So these all are the leaders of the Indian National Congress, INC. The first 20 years of Indian National Congress was known as the moderate. That is moderate. Just wait. I'm going to present the video. You can see. So before starting this topic, just I want to ask some questions that try to give the answer, children. So one student will come here. You come here. Come. That. The question here, try to give the answer. Identify the country carved out of India in 1947. The correct answer? Yes. So the correct answer, see the solution. Very good. Pakistan. Question number 2. Yes, good. Go answer. You come. Yes, come. Question number 2. That who is the author of the book Poetry and British Rule in India? Yes, try to give the answer. That. Yes, very good. The book, children, the book Poetry and British Rule in India, it was written by Dadabhai Naroji. Dadabhai Naroji was a businessman and he was also member of British Parliament. So the book Poetry and British Rule in India was written by Dadabhai Naroji. Yes, very good, children. Children, now we are going to start our next topic. Yes, now that's the topic as the Indian National Congress. So the Indian National Congress, the first 20 years, was the moderate phase. Their policies, their method was different from the extremists or the radicals. Yes, sir. That radicals we will discuss later. So here in this presentation, you will see that about the early phase of the national movement and the leaders.
The establishment of the Indian National Congress in 1885 marked a new chapter in India's freedom struggle. The activities undertaken by the Indian National Congress from 1885 until independence can be broadly classified into 3 phases: the moderate phase, the extremist phase, and the Gandhian era. The moderate phase was led by Congress leaders from the educated middle class that demanded administrative reforms, civil rights, and economic benefits in the larger interest of all segments of society. Under administrative reforms, they demanded greater voice for Indians in administration. This would be possible by giving Indians more representation in the Legislative Council. They demanded high positions for Indians in the government. For this, they demanded that the civil service examinations be held in India and not just in London. Some other reforms included separation of the judiciary from the executive, repeal of the Arms Act, and freedom of speech and expression.
So these were the demands of the moderates. The first year will mention that they wanted and in legislative councils. So their first demand. They also demanded about the high positions of Indians in the government. ICS examination were held in India, not in India, not only India and London, and generally the examinations, these examinations held on London. So they demanded also that the examinations should be held in India. Then also they wanted separation of judiciary from the executive, repeal of Arms Act unit. So the Arms Act which was passed in 1878. So also they are one of the demand, and they demanded freedom of speech and expression.
The demand for Indianization of the administration arose as most important jobs at the time were monopolized by white officials. The British generally assumed that Indians could not be given positions of responsibility.
So what they assumed, Britishers, what they assumed, all the high posts given to the Britishers, not Indians. So as they assumed that Indians could not be given positions of responsibility. Yes.
Also, the British officers were sending a major part of their large salaries home. The moderates hoped that Indianization would also reduce the drain of wealth to England. The moderates also raised their voice on economic issues such as the unfair system of land revenue that had impoverished the peasants and the zamindars, especially in...
Yes. So here topic that the unfair land revenue system. Land revenue system. Many land revenue systems introduced by Britishers. So as Mahalwari system, yes children, Mahalwari system that was introduced by Lord Cornwallis, yes, and then after that again a system that was introduced, yes children, try to give the answer. Mahalwari system, permanent settlement, yes, sir, just so here unfair land revenue system. Many land revenue system introduced by the Britishers in our country India as for example permanent settlement, Mahalwari system or Rayatwari system. Their main aim behind these all land revenue system to collect more taxes from peasants. So economy, as the economy was declined, so moderate phase also they wanted that the race concerned over the unfair land revenue system that influenced the peasants and jamindar.
in times of famine. Export of food grains to Europe had further caused food shortages. The Congress leaders demanded a reduction in land revenue, resolutions on salt tax, cut on military expenditure, more funds for irrigation, better treatment to be accorded to Indian laborers abroad.
And the other demands,
They also highlighted the suffering of the forest dwellers that had been caused due to interference by the forest administration.
forest dwellers, how the forest dwellers were suffered. Many forest acts which were passed by the Britishers. So forest acts, as the forests were divided, yes ma'am? Reserve forest, some forest as reserved, and the people or the native people, Indians were not allowed to visit on those forests. So as the forest dwellers and they forced to leave their forest area, they forced to work in mines, in other factories and other, when the Forest Act were passed by the Britishers. See here, next.
The moderates wanted to create an awareness of the unjust British practices, so they published newspapers and wrote articles to highlight how the British rule was leading to economic ruin of the country. They criticized the British rule in their speeches.
So children, in that phase, moderate phase, as they published newspapers, they wrote articles, they gave speeches. So through these methods, they wanted independence from British rule. Yes?
By the 1890s,
Some questions? Yes. So the question is, you stand up. Yes, Peter, you. That come here. Who was the first Indian woman to become the president of Indian National Congress? She was the president of Indian National Congress. Yes, try to give the answer. Kasturba Gandhi, Sarojini Naidu, Ambabai, Indira Gandhi, that the first president of Indian National Congress. Or anyone? Yes. Yes, try to give the answer. Just wait. Yes. No. Or anyone? No. You come. Go and sit. It's okay. Go and sit. Yes. The first Indian woman to become the president of Indian National Congress. No, it's okay. She was Sarojini Naidu. The next is you come. Anyone from this side? Yes, you come. The question, these people criticized the British rule in their speeches and intended to develop public awareness about the unjust British rule through their articles. Yes? Give that. Yes? Yes. Correct answer is that they developed their awareness about the unjust British rule through their articles, and those were the models. Yes. Many of the Indian leaders were not satisfied with the policy of the moderates, and those were extremists. Some leaders like Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Bipin Chandra Pal, and so what they as per those leaders, that they will not give independence through the policy of prayer. Yes. Bal Gangadhar Tilak, as he gave the slogan was freedom is my birthright and I shall have it. Yes, the famous slogan given by the Bal Gangadhar Tilak.
the 20th century ushered in a change in the political history of colonial India. Lord Curzon, the then Viceroy, decided to divide the province of Bengal into two, Bengal and Eastern Bengal. The reason given was that Bengal was too large a province to be governed by an administrator.
Lord Curzon was the Viceroy of India in 1905, and he partitioned the Bengal on the basis of religion, as the Eastern Bengal, how the Bengal was partitioned, and as per Lord Curzon, that the Bengal was a big province, a biggest province of India, and it was very difficult for the purpose of administration. So Bengal was divided in 1905.
But the real reasons behind the partition were believed to be very different. Number one, Bengal was at the heart of Indian nationalism. The British wanted to weaken this strong base. Dividing it under two administrations would help in suppressing the Bengali influence. Another reason was to divide the Bengalis on the basis of Muslims against each other. Hence, Lord Curzon proposed the division of Bengal on July 20th, 1905. The proposal was formally accepted and granted by the British in September the same year. Finally, Bengal was partitioned on October 16, 1905. The division of the province was as follows. Bengal included the western districts of Bengal proper, parts of present-day Orissa and Bihar. Calcutta was the capital of this part.
And that time Bengal was included Bihar, part of Orissa also, and the capital was Calcutta. That time the capital was children. Calcutta was the capital. When the Bengal was divided, after that many Indian leaders, they were against the partition of Bengal, and they started in Bengal Swadeshi movement, which was started in Bengal, and the year was children. The Swadeshi movement was started in which year in Bengal? Anyone? Yes? After the partition of Bengal, the Swadeshi movement was started, and in 1906, the establishment of Muslim League. Muslim League was also established as that time Aga Khan and Sir Syed Ahmad as they demanded that their separate organization and for the Muslim community. So that was established after the establishment of Muslim League in 1907. There was a split in Congress party, and the Congress was divided in two parts. Yes? See.
And Eastern Bengal would comprise of the eastern districts of the Bengal Presidency and Assam. Dhaka was declared as the new capital of this region. The partition not only hurt the sentiments of the Bengalis, but also shook the faith of the rest of the country. The Indian nationalists clearly saw how efficiently the British had executed the policy of divide and rule on the basis of territory.
Yes. So here, children, divide and rule. The policy which adopted by the Britishers as the root, how the first step that was taken by the Britishers, that they partitioned the Bengal on the basis of religion. After that, establishment of Muslim League, then the split in Congress. In 1916, the Lucknow Pact, under the Lucknow Pact, as Congress leaders and Muslim League, they signed that they will work together for the country, to free the country. In which year? The year was children 1960. And in 1917, the Congress party was reunited. Congress party was reunited in which year? The party was reunited in 1917. Yes. Very good. Now I have some questions. Children, so be ready for the question. Here, that's the, just wait. Okay, children, for today classes, we will start the next topic in next class. Any question? Okay. So you will read the topic. We will start the arrival of Mahatma Gandhi in India from 1950. That will be started next class. Thank you.